and her story, Shadows of Doom. In a remote village, surrounded by a dense forest known as the Forest of Spirits, there was an ancient legend that has been circulating for generations. Legend has it that there is a mysterious entity known as the Eternal Shadow inhabiting the depths of the forest. No one dares to approach there, since it is said that whoever enters the forest never returns, or returns loaded with madness. The beginning. One dark night, the villagers gathered in a small square next to an old church, talking about the disappearance of a young girl named Liana. She had gone to collect medicinal herbs from the outskirts of the forest, but had not returned. Her mother's eyes were filled with tears, and she begged the men to look for her daughter. But everyone refused. The fear of the Eternal Shadow was stronger than their courage. The hero of the story. A young man named Elias appeared, known for his boldness and recklessness. He stood in the middle of the crowd and said, "I will enter the forest and bring back Liana." Everyone tried to stop him, but his determination was unshakable. Taking an old lamp and a rusty sword, he set off towards the forest, while everyone's eyes followed him in majestic silence. The Cursed Forest. When Elias entered the forest, he felt an extraordinary awe. The twisted trees seemed to be watching him. The air was heavy and filled with a musty smell. He could hear strange voices, whispers, and muffled laughter coming from among the shadows. Suddenly, he felt something touching his shoulder. He turned around quickly, but saw nothing but darkness. Elias continued to walk until he came to an open area, in the center of which was a huge, dead tree. Under the tree, he found an old notebook covered with dirt. He opened the notebook and began to read. Whoever is reading this has signed a contract with the Eternal Shadow. Escape is impossible. Confrontation. The lamp suddenly went out, plunging everything into complete darkness. Elias felt a movement around him, and he began to hear a deep and frightening voice saying, "Why did you come here?" Elias froze for a moment, but he gathered his courage and shouted, "I want Liana. Give it back to me." A huge entity appeared from among the shadows, its features blurred, its eyes glowing like embers. He said with a voice that shook the earth, "She's mine now, just as you will become." The terrifying truth. Elias tried to attack with his sword, but the weapon unsuccessfully pierced the shadow. At the last moment of the sacrifice, Elias took out a small knife and engraved on his palm a strange symbol that he had seen in the notebook. He said loudly, "Take me and let go!" The shadow stopped, then disappeared with the sound of a loud cry. Elias fell to the ground, unconscious. When he woke up, he was out of the forest. The villagers found him around, and Liana next to him, but she was completely silent, as if her soul had been destroyed. As for Elias, he has changed. His eyes have become dark, and his voice carries a strange echo. Days later, Elias disappeared from the village. Some say that he became a servant of the Eternal Shadow. Others believe that he became the entity himself. Since then, disappearances in the forest have increased, and the shadow has become stronger than ever. Weeks have passed since Elias disappeared. Liana was walking around the village as a soulless body, not talking, not laughing, not even crying. Her eyes are staring at nothing, as if she sees something that others do not see. Some women said that the shadow did not completely leave her. Instead, he planted something in it that is waiting to grow. On a moonlit night, her mother woke up to find Liana's bed empty, the window wide open. Muddy footprints lead to the forest. She had come back to her, of her own free will. New disappearance. The next day, the villagers gathered again next to the church. Their faces were desperate. It became clear that the curse had returned to swallow up those who remained. One of the children also disappeared the same night. Whispers between people have increased. The shadow is not gone. He opened his gate through despair. An elderly man named Sheikh Naim appeared. He was one of the few who lived from time immemorial. He stepped forward to the people and said in a trembling voice, "The solution is not to run away. It's about confrontation. There is an ancient ritual that can close the shadow gate, but its price is a pure soul. The gate of spirits." A girl named Miarne volunteered. She was known for her faith and serenity of heart. Sheikh Naim led her into the forest, on the night of which the moon is said to be full twice, a harbinger of the great opening of the gate of spirits. They had to get to the heart of the forest, the place where the first appearance of the eternal shadow took place. The road was twisted, and the shadows were moving, breathing. The sounds of whispers, screams, and laughter tore the silence of the night. When they arrived, they found a Liana standing in front of the dead tree, her eyes shining with infinite blackness. She looked at them and said in a voice that was not her voice, "You're late. He's back." He was no longer the same. His skin was pale, his eyes like voids of darkness, and his voice echoed with an eternal resonance. He said, "I am..." Sheikh Naim raised an ancient staff engraved with sacred symbols and began chanting the ritual. The ground trembled, the trees screamed, but the shadow only grew stronger. Liana suddenly screamed and collapsed, as if an internal battle was raging within her. Myrna stepped forward slowly and began to recite a pure prayer in ancient tongues, learned from forgotten texts in the church. Elias shouted, "Stop! You can't!" But she did not stop. In a moment of radiance, a light opened from the sky and shone upon Myrna, who extended her hands toward Elias and said, "Come back to me, the one we once loved." Let me know if you'd like this rewritten for dramatic narration or turned into a cinematic script. A cry tore the sky, and Elias fell to his knees crying, "Coming back." Liana lost consciousness, and Myrna completely disappeared, evaporated as if a light had gone out. Elias returned to the village, carried on the shoulders of those who remained, but he never spoke after that. As for the forest, its whispers have subsided. Just for a while. But the legend is not over. Years later, a child was found on the outskirts of the forest, with eyes shining with a strange gray shimmer. She holds in her hand a doll of ashes. It is said that the shadow, he is not defeated, but sleeps.